Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Curious You podcast. Today on the podcast, I'm so excited to welcome an incredible guest, Alisa Nimenko. Alisa's journey combines psychology, neuroscience, and holistic wellness in such a beautiful way. Alisa studied psychology in Vienna, went on to complete her master's in neuroscience at King's College London, and she now lives in Barcelona, where she supports women and high achievers as a wellness coach. But what makes Alisa special is how she blends science with real life tools to help people find clarity, energy, and balance. Alisa's mission is to guide others to connect mind and body so they can truly thrive. Her Instagram bio says, and I love it, I turn science into something you can feel. And Alisa, you really couldn't have said it better. So please join me in welcoming Alisa, a warm, inspiring voice who shares not only her knowledge, but also her soul. Welcome, Alisa. I'm so happy to have you on this podcast.
Thank you so much, Nina. Thank you for having me. Thank you for this introduction. I am very excited to be here as well and very excited to have this conversation with you.
So, Alisa, I'd love to start, of course, with your story. But I guess your story starts with psychology, which is actually not the beginning. And I want to know what first drew you to study psychology. Was there a specific experience in your life or curiosity that started that journey for you?
I think I always had this curiosity for the mind and what is happening like behind the scenes in every person's head. I don't know, I think I had a lot of questions myself and some struggles when I was a teenager that drew me into the field of psychology and trying to really understand myself first and then understand others and help them understand themselves. I think it was always something of interest for me, like what is it that makes me sad or makes me anxious, or how can I overcome these feelings when life is uncertain, right? There's so many things happening, but I can't be governed by my mind and by my emotions. So how I can become a better person? And I think psychology helps us understand ourselves better.
And what did you know that since an early age, or was it a specific experience that triggered that journey for you?
I think first, like, difficult experience for me as a kid was divorce of my parents when I was 3 years old, and I was definitely a very sensitive kid, and it touched me a lot. Of course, I loved both of my parents, and it was hard, like,
Right.
I don't know, being kind of in between, yeah, between the two people I love. And yeah, I think that sparked like first thing inside of me, like how do I deal with it? How can I feel better in this situation?
And you grew up in Crimea, am I right to say that?
Yes, I grew up in Crimea.
Because you talk a lot about your childhood also on social media, how incredible it was to grow up in nature with fresh food. Was it always like that for you? Like your childhood memories, was it always like fresh food and the nature? I mean, I cannot imagine how it is, how beautiful Crimea is, and how it is to grow up there. Can you give us a bit more detail about that?
Yeah, sure. I think definitely where I grew up shaped me as a person so much, and I'm so grateful to have been born and raised in Crimea. But actually, Crimea is so small itself that, like, every weekend I would go with my parents either to mountains to do a hike or to, I don't know, to the beach. We have so much nature there that's 2 hours and you can be in a completely different weather, completely different scenery, and definitely shaped me. And a lot of fresh food, as you said, a lot of like active lifestyle. My parents are very active. My lifestyle always has been very active and very healthy, I would say. Healthy from the perspective of like that I used to eat a lot of seasonal fresh food and move with the seasons, like winter was more of a cozy, homey food, and summer was more of outside, like spending time a lot outdoors with my friends, with my family, eating a lot of fruits, vegetables. So yeah, definitely it shaped me in a good way.
Right. Yeah, you were moving with the seasons. That's so incredible. Such
Yeah.
a different lifestyle to my childhood because I lived in India and I was not moving with the seasons because it was always hot throughout the year, from 50 degrees during the summer to like 20 degrees in winter, and the food definitely wasn't fresh. So I can only imagine what a beautiful childhood you must have had when it comes to those things, because I remember when I would go back to Bosnia to visit my family, my grandma's, and it was always this warm and cozy feeling of eating, homemade soup and fresh fruits. And I still remember the taste of all of those fruits, and it really connects to our childhood a lot. Food is very, very important. But just like me, you also moved away from home when you were 16 years old. What prompted you to do that?
Good question. I think I was always raised to leave because, as I mentioned before, it was a very nice and beautiful experience to be raised in this like nature place, but it's not very developed, right? It's small and cozy and beautiful, but it's not very developed. So my family wanted a better future for me, a better life for me. So I think I was raised to live and to continue my journey. I chose Europe for myself. I first traveled, I was a dancer,
Wow, what type of dance?
all type of modern, contemporary, like whatever was there, we were dancing everything, a lot of competitions that built a lot of resilience and discipline inside of myself. I was like a professional dancer for a long time.
That's really
I wanted to become a dancer, like a choreographer, a dancer, do performances, do different type of classes, and that's why I first moved actually at 16 to Germany, and I was preparing to apply for art university
I didn't know that. Where in Germany did you live?
in Berlin.
Berlin, okay. So from Berlin you went to Vienna later on.
And yes, then I realized that this is not enough for me just dancing for my entire life. I can do it as a hobby. When I was actually dancing like 10 hours per day, I realized that that's not the only thing that I want to do. Like my mind was screaming for more activity as well.
Right, right.
So that's why afterwards, yeah, I went to Vienna to psychology university. And it was very spontaneous. It wasn't very thought out. Just I realized that I'm not a dancer. Suddenly, my entire life, I thought I was a dancer. Even though I had these curiosities of the mind, I wasn't thinking of it professionally. I was more thinking professionally of like dancing. But spontaneously, I decided that that's not the future I want for myself, and somehow I appeared in Vienna learning psychology.
So you studied psychology in Vienna and then you did neuroscience at King's College London. Before we dig in deeper into these topics, can we touch upon neuroscience here quickly for our listeners to understand what it is exactly? Because I don't think I'm sure as well. What is neuroscience exactly?
Yeah, neuroscience is the scientific study of the brain and our nervous system, and it's basically how neurons, hormones, and experiences shape our thoughts, feelings, and actions.
Okay, so it was a logical move to make after psychology to dig even deeper into the brain and to know how it.
Yeah, it was a. This move was already thought out, and yeah, it was a logical move.
Okay. And so currently, Alisa, you are helping your clients move forward in life with a mix of neuroscience, psychology, and holistic wellness. Am I right to say that? How do you combine these three disciplines in your coaching?
I love that question. So I have something that I developed called the method. Actually, I haven't talked about it yet much, but I want to call it Arete Method. Arete is ancient Greek word, which means living up to one's potential in all areas of your life. Whatever you do it to your maximum, up to your potential as much as you can. And I love that word. I was searching for the right word for my method, and yeah, it's the first time I'm saying it out loud. I love it.
Love it. Arete, you said?
Arete, yes. And basically, the main pillars that I combine are body, mind, emotions, energy, purpose, and spirit. It's a lot to take on at once, so let me just explain how neuroscience, psychology, and holistic wellness fits in there. Is that psychology gives me an understanding of thoughts, of patterns, and emotions of women I work with. We dig deeper of how they are shaped by their experiences, by their childhood, by whatever it is, what patterns they have inside of their own minds, what's happening there, and what techniques, what tools can I use for them to break the pattern. And then neuroscience explains the brain-body link and why people can have these difficulties of overcoming a certain pattern of thoughts or actions. So from biological perspective, I know that, for example, brain is the laziest organ in our body and it doesn't want to work so much. So we have to be sneaky around our brain and actually teach it to work, but we have to do it not with too challenging exercises for our brain, not too challenging tasks, but also not under challenging. So it is a balance here, a dance. And holistic wellness is just, I think, lifestyle. It's about daily rituals and integration and making actually this wholeness and wellness your lifestyle and who you are. It's all together like a dance.
That's so beautiful. I have so many questions now. I don't know from where to start. But let's go back to the brain because you were saying that we need to teach the brain.
Yeah.
Not in a very challenging way, not also in a very easy way. So how do we teach our brains to cooperate with us?
Good question. Yeah, it is. It is a very fine line there of how you can do it, and it's very personal. But it's basically how I do it with my clients. Is we have weekly tasks. For example, I have once per week a coaching call. On this call, we talk about a certain thing, whatever it is. For example, scientific phenomena of circadian rhythms, that our body moves with the rhythm of the sun. And for example, a person doesn't sleep well, doesn't feel energized throughout the day, so we want to make this person wake up earlier, go to bed earlier, and get natural movement, natural rhythm. And this is, for example, our weekly tasks. How do we do it? I ask a person, are you ready to do, for example, this one change, this one habit? Are you ready to take it on? Does it feel like too much? Can you do it actually every day of the week before I see you next time? Or is it feeling like too much? So we choose one habit that's gonna help this specific habit, this specific new ritual, new pattern that we want to develop in the lifestyle of a person. And it can be, for example, just, okay, at 8 p.m. I turn off my phone, and this way I teach my brain that 8 p.m. I don't get already blue light, I don't get artificial lightning, I am ready to settle down, to calm down, to do something for myself, to get ready to rest. So it's small steps, and this way we can teach our brain that it should be something like new, but not too much, not too many tasks at a time.
There's a saying that goes like it takes 21 days to build a habit. Is that scientifically proven or it's just a saying?
Well, it is true, but it's also just a saying. But this is based on the brain developing neural pathways. Basically, every thought that you have during the day is normally a thought that you also had yesterday and before yesterday and before yesterday. So why? Because you have a neural pathway that your brain is used to think already a certain thought, and you have a pattern. And so, yes, to develop and strengthen neural pathway, new habit, new pattern, yes, you need some time, and in general, 21 days is enough and good time to develop this new neural pathway. That's why there's this saying, but it can be also before and it can take longer as well.
Right, okay. That is really mind blowing. And when I heard that 95% of our brain is in the subconsciousness, for me, it changed everything. Like the fact that I only know 5% is insane. I mean, because we as human beings, we think that we know it all, right? That we understand our past, we understand our present, we understand where we're going. But it actually boils down into digging into those 95% and to really seeing what is behind the story that you keep telling yourself. So I guess that is something that you work with your clients as well, to dig into the subconsciousness and to really uncover things that the person might not even be aware of.
Yeah, exactly. It takes a lot of work to dig into the subconsciousness, and this is where psychology is good. Psychology can have these tools to dig deeper into your subconscious and understand the patterns. And for example, I see a certain pattern in my life that I keep repeating, but I don't understand why I have this, for example, reaction. I don't know. It's often like with our closest people that we have strong reactions, and sometimes we don't understand why we can have it. And then it takes first, you have to notice it, you have to acknowledge it, and then you have to find the reason, like where it's coming from. This step, actually, modern psychology skips this step. Modern psychology doesn't really like to find the reason behind. Modern psychology just goes to the next step, which is, okay, how can I change this behavior? How can okay, I noticed it, I acknowledged it. Okay, now I need to learn how to react differently. This is now the most popular branch of psychology is cognitive behavioral therapy, which is cognition, is recognizing your pattern, being very self-aware. It's a lot of self-awareness skills. And then behavioral part is that you're changing your behavior, your reactions to patterns.
What do you think about that, about skipping that step?
That's one of the reasons why I decided to not continue with my psychology degree, because I expected it to be a little bit deeper, a little bit more digging into subconscious, but all these older styles of therapies like Freudian therapy is actually outdated, and modern psychology doesn't support this anymore. So I decided that if I'm already studying science, and psychology is all scientific and very like evidence-based, then I can go even more into science and learn neuroscience, learn our brain. But for me personally, it's a pity. I think it's interesting to go into subconscious and dig deeper, but there's also a limit that we don't get stuck in the just talking about our childhood and how our parents
Yeah.
did a trauma with this little thing. Also, not be too much focused on that.
Yes, you're so right when you say that, because I also have a feeling that our generation is more conscious of everything that went on in our childhood. I think we're the first generation that is actually busy with those topics. And it has become such a trend in a way as well, as you said, to sit for days and days and to talk about all the things that went wrong, which is quite dangerous. I think there should be like an invisible line between,
Yeah.
drowning in pain from the past and really making a decision for it to work for you, not for you to work for it. So actually that your past serves you and gives you strength to be even better, even stronger in the future.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with you on that. But Alisa, what does science tell us, for example, about the connection between nutrition and mental health?
So there is a very well-known gut-brain axis, which is basically communication between our brain and our gut, and they're pretty much interconnected, and they are connected with our nervous system. So gut-brain axis is also based on like nervous system regulation for it to work properly, because it sends signals with also with some chemicals, yes, but a lot of it goes through the nervous system. And for example, we know that most of our serotonin, which is one of the happiness hormones, is produced actually in our gut, not in our head. So our diet affects our mental health much more than most of the people think.
And are there any practices that can support this emotional balance and clarity?
Yeah, for sure. For example, we know that Mediterranean diet is directly linked to reduction of depression symptoms and actually can work as a prevention for depression. So this is very good news. And Mediterranean diet is actually very simple. It is based on fresh vegetables, fresh fruits. It's a lot of fiber, a lot of salads. It is based on healthy fats, which is, for example, olive oil, avocado, fish, and protein. There is not so much carbs, there is more protein or complex carbs. There is no processed foods. The worst thing for our body, for our gut, is processed foods. And if you're just eating, for example, not everyone has access to Mediterranean style diet. Some people have to, I don't know, like adapt their diets from wherever they are. And we can do it just by focusing on eating local food, seasonal food, and focus on fiber. And our plate should be like, okay, I have fiber, protein, healthy fats, and carbs. It should be a balance of everything, but basically, if you eat seasonal and local foods and whole foods, not processed foods, you're good.
And what about meat?
Yeah, sorry, I don't talk so much about meat because I'm vegetarian myself for many years already. Meat, I would say, for example, my boyfriend eats meat, I cook meat for him, but what we normally do is reduce red meat because it's very heavy to digest for our bodies and it can cause unnecessary discomfort feelings, or it can cause like longer digestion, which doesn't give enough rest to our whole system, which causes then inflammation is another big topic that is of gut brain axis within that field. And so yeah, I would say reduce red meat and focus on where meat is coming from. You can eat meat every day if you like it, if it's good for your body. It's very individual, but focus on where this meat is coming from. Try to buy, if you have access, if you can allow it, grass-fed or like the best quality that you can buy of the meat. We try to buy it from local markets where we know where people grow these animals. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's also a big topic that we have. I mean, obviously, my husband and I were from the Balkans, where meat is a big, big thing. I don't think there's lunch without meat and potatoes on the table.
Yeah.
And that's the way we grew up as well. And I mean, my favorite type of lunch is mashed potatoes, spinach, and schnitzel. And it's like, oh my God, I remember my grandma making that. But definitely now we don't eat meat every day. We eat it maybe 3 or 4 times a week. So still quite a lot, mostly chicken. But it's a topic that I keep thinking about, because if I were to replace meat, I would need to know how to replace meat properly. And I always say it's very risky when, I think that's also sort of a trend to not eat meat and to be a vegetarian. But I think that you really need to educate yourself on how to get everything that meat actually gives you, because it's very easy. You fry your chicken, you get in the protein and everything else that chicken has. But if you don't eat meat, like, you need to be organized enough, and you need to cook in accordance with recipes that provide all of those nutritional aspects of a dish. So I think that's another science related topic that could easily be mixed with all of these things that you do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk a bit about nervous system regulation, because I know, Alisa, that's what you do as well. And I feel like nervous system regulation is such a trendy word as well nowadays. But how would you explain it in simple terms for our audience?
I would say that nervous system is like body's communication network. So imagine that your entire body has like this net of nerves all over, and they're sending signals from brain to nerves, from nerves to brain all the time. And we have sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic state of nervous system. Parasympathetic is basically rest and digest, and it's like a break of our whole system, and it's related to rest, to digestion, very important, to repair. And then our sympathetic nervous system is like the gas pedal. It's when we need to activate, it's when cortisol is getting produced, which is healthy cortisol is good. We need it to be active, to be able to work, to be productive. Our heart rate rises, and yeah, cortisol, stress hormone. And the problem that most of the people have nowadays with nervous system regulation is that nervous system is designed to switch between sympathetic and parasympathetic states. And most of us cannot switch because of the modern lifestyle. We have constant notifications, it is constant rush, it is constant stimulus, and we are stuck in this state of fight or flight for our body, basically constant stimulation. We don't get bored anymore. We don't just sit and think of life and look at the sky. We're just all the time doing something. And this stress hormone that is being produced and sympathetic system activated, as I said, it is related to heart rate increased, and it is affecting our body a lot, and it can cause digestive issues, anxiety issues, fatigue. So nervous system regulation is basically learning how to calm down, how to relax, how to stop rushing. Very simple practices for this. It's nothing fancy like nervous system regulation. Now I need to meditate every day. Meditation is a great practice, but normal practice for a normal person is just go eat without your phone, without TV. Look at your plate and eat, chew every food, like count how much do you chew. Normally we just chew like 5-10 times and we swallow, we don't even notice what we ate. And that's why a lot of people struggle with bloating now. And bloating is not actually a digestive issue most of the times. It's nervous system regulation issue.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So it's like just learn how to calm down. That's what nervous system
I
regulation
love
is.
that should be another social media post. Learn how to calm down in simple terms.
Yeah.
And how do you calm down?
I am a victim of modern life as well. I can get overwhelmed with the phones, with the lifestyle, the rhythm. I'm also very active person and ambitious person. I want to do so many things, and I consciously stop myself. I have always my morning is no phone for first at least 30 minutes, but most of the days it's no phone, at least for 1 hour in the morning. I start my morning with journaling, with drinking warm water, maybe meditating, something mindfulness activity. Then with a little bit of movement, I do stretches every morning as well. And I always do face massage, just what I like, just like a girl's activity that also makes me more present. I don't use my phone, I don't do anything related to being productive. I'm just being. So mornings are very important for me. Then I try to do a break during the day. I try to, during the day when I work, focus on one task at a time, reach my phone with the screen down so I don't see the notifications. So when I answer um, messages, I answer messages. When I work on something, I work on something. I don't switch in between answering and working and doing this and that. So yeah, there's a lot of practices actually that you can just naturally include in your daily life to keep your nervous system more regulated.
I love that. But I think that also when we're talking about our body, like brain and body, a lot of that can as well, again, be stuck in our subconsciousness. And what I mean is that we can be doing all of those like rituals and calming ourselves down, but at the end of the day, there's something stuck that we're unaware of, and that it comes out in moments that we least expect. Like, for example, a situation from my life is that I considered myself very well balanced, very calm. And I remember when I was at university, people would always come to me and they would tell me, Nina, we love your energy. It's always such calm energy. And it's like, la la la. And I was really like that all the time, like la la la, everything is great, and going and breezing through life. But then I became a mom, and I have a feeling that all of those things that were probably saved in my body started coming out, like my reactions when my daughter would do something that I disagree with. And that was like in her first 2 years of her life. And I remember there was a moment where she was playing with a plant at home, and it was COVID time, so I was working from home and I was on my laptop, and she was doing something like with the plant and playing. I told her once, like, no, Sophia, don't do that. I clean it. She starts doing it again. The second time, I'm like, Sophia, don't do that. I told you once. Please don't do that. And that happened a couple of times. And I think the fifth time she said, something came out of me that I was like, where does this come from? Like, where does this come from? I have no idea. Because I recognized, okay, there is a certain way that your parents talk to you when you're a child, right? The words they use, sentences they use. And I think that's all stored inside of us, like a reaction system. And actually, it was that moment that triggered for me to start working on myself even deeper, like to start learning about the brain. I bought like a gazillion self-help books, like to study about human mind, emotions, body, how to process it all. And I realized that I was always very good at forming those habits, taking care of my head and, just taking space for myself. But then I became a mom and I was like, okay, there is something stronger than me inside of myself, something that I can't really control on the surface with those habits. Because even if I, do all the things right, if I don't sort of unlock something inside of myself, things won't change.
Yeah, that's very great that you had this self awareness and this strength inside of you to actually notice it and choose to work on it. Because I would say most of the times people don't even have the self awareness, the strength to notice and to choose to change it, to choose to work on yourself. It takes a lot of effort. And this is great that you could do this. And yeah, it can come. First thing is that when you're being a mother of babies, of kids, you're not getting enough of rest, enough of sleep, maybe not enough of food that your body needs because you're taking care of your kids. So, of course, you're a little bit out of balance and your reactions can be a little bit more like intense than normally when you're rested, when you're more in tune with yourself. So this is normal. But then, of course, there are things from, for example, psychology that, yeah, like more of subconscious things and patterns of reactions in the past that you've developed because of your experiences in the childhood, because of your parents, or whatever it is. Yeah, that's why it's a pity I said that psychology doesn't dig deeper into this, because sometimes it is helpful. And there is for sure a lot of work with our subconscious, but also with our state right now. So even if there's something in subconscious, but we are in a balanced state in the moment, we are giving ourselves everything that we need, all the rest, all the nourishment, this subconscious won't come up so intensely.
Like the monster will be tamed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it makes sense completely. I have a feeling that all of us are like little sponges until we're 6 years of age. I think that also science proves that. And I see an example when my daughter plays with her toys or her baby dolls, and the way she talks to them is exactly the way I talk to her. It's like monkey say, monkey do. And it's so interesting for me to watch because I'm the one who's actually forming her inner voice and the way she will talk not only to herself but to her own child in the future, which is also very inspiring for me, but it's also a big responsibility to work on myself because everything starts with me inside the house. If I am stable, if I'm working on myself, I have a feeling that the house functions much better. So I definitely think that the older we are, the more useful these tools are that you're working with your clients on. Because if we truly want a life that's fulfilling from inside, not only outside, I think working on ourselves is definitely the number one aspect and the number one step that we need to overcome in order to get to the akret, like you said, right? Living our full potential.
Yeah, right. Exactly. For me, working on oneself is like not the meaning of life, but it's always at the back of every action, every reaction. Do I want to react now out of just what I'm used to, and it's easy for me to react in a way that I'm reacting for my entire life, or do I want to get better? Do I want to act now just because I'm used to act this way, or do I want to get better? And most of the work of coaching and all these things is like quick fixes, and people like quick fixes. But I don't like quick fixes because it's shallow and it's just going away after you had a coaching session.
It's gonna
I
come back
always
sometime.
yeah. I always say to my clients that the purpose of our work is that you embody the change and it becomes engraved in your lifestyle, in you. You become the change. It's not something you do, you become it.
Yeah, because we live in a world where we have so much like theory all around, and like it's one thing to understand with your brain, right? To understand in your head, like, yes, I understand how these things work. But the game changes, I guess, is when your body understands, right? When all of that information is like sort of pushed down to your body and you become that. And that's something that I didn't know up to like 2 years ago. I had no idea there was a difference in those things. I just thought like, okay, I read a book, I listened to a podcast, I learned these things, I know what these things are, I can have a like intellectual discussion on these topics. And it wasn't until a friend told me, yeah, but it's one thing to understand and it's another thing to become, to actually embody all of that. And for me, that was the moment when everything changed. I'm like, that's so powerful.
Yeah, right. It's always the hardest thing is to become what you're talking, walking the talk.
Exactly. And this connects me to what I wanted to discuss with you as well is we see that nowadays a lot of people start something, they're motivated, but then they sort of lose momentum. And from your perspective, what makes lifestyle changes sustainable and long term?
Yeah, good question. I think that there should be, that's why in my method that I've developed, there is some layers of spirit and purpose. I think it's important to understand your why behind what you're doing. your why and where you want to get with it, and not just like physical, more like normal goal. Okay, I want to, I don't know, earn this amount of money. No, but why from the perspective of deeper than that, from the perspective of the purpose of life. I think always having your why at the back of your mind is important. But if we're talking about something more that we can grasp, is actually making your habits doable and making just one big goal, but separating it on little actionable habits that you can develop right now to get where you want to be. So with my clients, as I said, we do like weekly new habits, and weekly a new habit that is sustainable, that you actually can sustain. It doesn't matter if you choose a big goal for this week, but then you can sustain it. It matters if you can choose a smaller goal, a smaller habit to sustain, and then in 3 weeks you get the big one with these 3 small ones. So the goal is to think long term, to think of wanting to embody the change, embody that where you want to get. And that happens only with small and actionable steps, so it's a lot of patience as well.
And do you see people come to you expecting quick fixes? Does that happen?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. In modern life, in modern world, I think everybody expects to have quick fixes, quick solutions to their problems, because we have everything very fast. Our world now is very fast, but I always clarify this in our first session that it's not about quick fixes. My programs are longer programs together where we work on sustainable long-term change. Yeah, but it definitely happens. But a lot of people, even if they come for quick fixes, they're happy to stay for a long-term change.
And Alisa, for the listeners that perhaps might be feeling stuck in their head or overwhelmed, what's the one thing or the first step they can take today to feel more connected and balanced? What would you say?
Find one thing that you love doing, a small thing. Maybe it's drinking a warm cup of tea. Maybe it's looking out of the window without the noise, without your phone. Maybe it's taking a short walk early morning. Whatever it is, find a thing that you can do 5 minutes today, now, and just put it on your calendar together with all the things that you have to do, and start with this one small thing that you would love to do. Just 5 minutes, 1 minute, whatever it is, whatever time you have, and just start with that. It's already gonna create a lot of change.
I love that so much because I think at the end of the day, it's also about, romanticizing our lives a little bit and having those sweet, special moments. My husband and I, we keep laughing because we couldn't wait to come back home from our holiday because, with our routines and rituals and our food and our morning coffee, oh my God, life is so good.
Yeah, exactly. It happens the same with my boyfriend when we travel. We want to come home to our routine, to our rituals. We love our house. And I think it's a lot, of course, about romanticizing. Like, I love early mornings, early rising, and this cup of coffee, as you said, and like, I don't know, start my day, like, put a little candle. Like, now that we're talking, I also have little candle here. Like, it's all about like this. It's simple step. It's 1 second to light up a candle, but
Yeah,
it's already so much romanticizing the moment
yeah,
and creating this calm atmosphere for yourself.
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Like yesterday, we talked, you and I told you that my daughter had a stomach bug and she didn't go to the kindergarten. And you and I were supposed to record our podcast episode yesterday, so that
Yeah.
was Monday. And I had to cancel, and I had other plans in my calendar. And then at one point, I'm like, okay, it's fine. I'm going to cancel it because today is going to be a cartoon and couch type of day. And immediately, like in my head, I saw the coziness behind it all. Like it wasn't heaviness, it was more of like coziness. We're going to have amazing homemade food. We're going to watch a funny cartoon together. We're going to laugh on the couch. We're going to take a nap. And my head instantly switched to romanticizing even that kind of a day.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't this boring, oh, my child is at home, heavy energy day. It was more like, hey, my child is at home, let's use it. You know, I can use that opportunity to be lazy as well. Like, I don't have to work or, you know, show up in that sense. I can just, you know, take the opportunity to enjoy this day with my daughter and to watch. We watched, I think, 101 Dalmatian. So I think it's about the adaptability as well, as we talked about, and like
Yeah.
romanticizing things that are happening to you, because it's inevitable that life happens to all of us, but it's, you know, up to us how we're gonna accept those changes and everything that happens, because it's all neutral, right? Like everything that happens to us, it's neutral. It's up to us to see it as positive or negative. So
Exactly, exactly. And it's very powerful saying that you just mentioned. And I really, really love your approach to this. And I told you that you're a big inspiration for motherhood as well, because I think kids are very good teachers to just be present and not rush. And like, I was traveling to my family a few weeks ago, and I have a little brother now, and he has some needs, and only I as adult can help him in this moment. And this need might be not the need like to, I don't know, eat. This need is just for attention. And for example, I was doing my exercise and he came to me and he wanted to play so much. And it was either like telling him, no, go and put a cartoon for him to watch. No, go watch your cartoon. Like, let me exercise. Or it can be, okay, and create a game from my exercise for him so I can exercise and he can play with me and with me doing my thing at the moment as well. And it's about being more playful and more flowing with the moment, more adaptable, and kids are such great teachers for that. And I'm very inspired by how you take it on, even when your kid gets sick, how you romanticize.
thank you, Alisa. I appreciate the kind words. But it really, like you said, playfulness, it really boils down to that. Because I don't think a lot of adults nowadays are playful or joyful in that sense. Again, I think it boils down to our life energy, living our purpose, living our why. Because for me as well, a lot of things changed when I became sort of honest with myself on who I was, what I wanted to do in life, and I let myself free. And I feel like at that moment, I started playing even more with my kids. And now not a day goes by that I don't play with them, that I don't do something fun with them. And I enjoy it so much because I feel like if we would learn from kids as much as they learn from us, this world would definitely be a better place. Just the curiosity, the playfulness. I mean, it's such an important part of life. And even if an adult who's curious and playful is more magnetic than an adult
Yeah,
who's static and, you know, unsatisfied.
yeah,
Yeah, I think we're all going back to the normal things in life, how it should be from the beginning, right? Like with nature, with kids, with food, going back to the basics. Alisa, we've come to our last question, and that is if you would whisper one thing to a woman who's standing at the edge of her next level, so someone who is, let's say, starting her own business, what would you tell that woman?
I love this question. And just because we were talking now about kids and playfulness, I think I would say don't take yourself too serious and be playful. And I think that with this energy, something beautiful can be created, not from planning and trying to be like perfect at all times when it comes to business or building something. I think it's about playfulness and not taking yourself too seriously, because in these moments we can truly listen to our inner wisdom, which is in our bodies already. We can truly listen what we need, what our body needs, what our mind needs, what our soul needs. And I think this state of playfulness, flowing, creates the positive mindset and creates really big and lasting changes in our lives.
So beautiful. Thank you so much, Alisa, for joining me here today. I really enjoyed this conversation with you. So much wisdom, and I've learned a lot about nervous system regulation and arete, my new favorite word, definitely.
Love
We'll
that.
Google that one. So
Yeah.
thank you once again, and thank you everyone who for taking your time to actually listen to this conversation. And I will see you next week, same time, same place. Bye.
Thank you so much.